So I still use it regularly. It helps a lot of aspects of my life just stay in order. It kind of speeds things up. I find that you know, for instance, last year around this time, I was having a really hard time in my life in general. It wasn't just physical. It was all these different aspects of things in my life that just seemed like my world was crumbling to the point where I didn't really even want to live anymore. I really was really depressed because I felt almost like I was cursed. And I drank some ayahuasca at that time, and I found it to be really nurturing, and something about connecting in that moment with the source, the all there is. The plant medicines show me the greater picture of reality, the part that we don't always see in our day-to-day life. And it filled my body with energy and life force. And I noticed after that experience that everything clicked into place in my life. Every realm that I was struggling in just fixed itself. I must say it was also with I drank ayahuasca, and then I went to a peyote ceremony a couple days later in the Native American church, which I was talking about, and then I went, after I had that ceremony 2 days later, I went back and drank ayahuasca again, and the combination of that, just everything in my life just took off and just started to flourish, and that's a completely different way too with the Native American church and the peyote. It's a really strict way, I would say. It's not recreational by any sense. It's a very tight container that has been handed down through generations of Native Americans to conduct in just this specific way. And there's a specific order that everything goes. You sit up all night, you don't eat, you don't drink water. There's certain times in the night where you pray with tobacco. Usually, you're there to support somebody's prayer. Somebody has a prayer request, so everybody comes together and sits up all night for, sometimes 12, 15 hours when I'm trying not to leave, trying to hold space for the prayer of that person. And miracles happen. It's amazing. So in that TP, I took a prayer smoke for myself. I was there to support the prayer of the sponsor, the one asking for the prayers. But there came a time in the evening where I realized I needed to do this for myself. So they offer the opportunity for people who are really struggling, sometimes have a real important prayer, to pray with cedar. That's another plant medicine they use in there. Because you throw the cedar on the fire and it carries the prayers up to the heavens, and it just clears the energy. So you can pray with the cedar or you can pray with the tobacco. And I felt like I needed a tobacco prayer. So I prayed about my life with that tobacco. You roll it in corn husk. And so I did that, and then I went back to ayahuasca. And the combination of all that really just shifted everything. And since then I've realized that where some people... They like to drink ayahuasca for this or that reason. The ayahuasca has shown me that I don't really even like to drink ayahuasca. I need to drink ayahuasca. It's shown me that I actually need this medicine for my life because it's shown me a deeper insight into the karma that I'm dealing with in this life and how it relates to, it goes way back into previous lifetimes. And so a lot of the stuff, sometimes I feel like I'm drowning under a flood of malefic influences at certain times in my life. And that is really, it is stuff carried over from previous lifetimes, baggage that I've carried. So it's worked on such a deep level that it's shown me that. It's shown me specific incidences in previous lifetimes where I have caused trauma to someone else and caused trauma to myself, and how those almost like entities, or as you call it in Eastern traditions, you call them vasanas. Vasanas are these innate tendencies to do things that don't serve us, and you can carry them from lifetime to lifetime through lifetimes. And so it's shown me those vasanas and those kind of spirits, if you will, that I've carried with me and helped me to deal with them. To it kind of it gets rid of them. It exorcises them in the form of the purge, la purga. So that's it's a real deal. There's a real physical response that medicine has in the body. And so you'll be in the depth of witnessing all this darkness and all this stuff that you need to get out. And the physical response is the purge. And it's amazing how once that stuff is built up, after that purge, it's like sometimes lifetimes of weight lifted off your shoulders. And I find it very therapeutic in that way, to the point where I don't really even like to partake so much in entheogens that don't have that purgative response anymore. I pretty much that's pretty much the medicines I work with: ayahuasca and peyote, and some San Pedro too, for the way they work in my body. And they both work on different levels. I feel that the peyote is a much more lucid experience. It gives the energy body, and it creates a really clear, grounded space. It can be very visionary too, colorful, but that's really not what people are going to the ceremonies for necessarily. It's to pray, and it creates a really reflective environment, really grounded, really clear space to pray in and to just be present in. Whereas the ayahuasca is more of it's a journey. It will take you to what some might call the astral realms, the bardos. Take you to those places where maybe your soul is stuck, and show you how it's stuck, and help you free yourself from that.
You're doing great. Very, very articulate and verbose, and you're encapsulating a lot of your previous history, which is very unique, and it's very adventurous. A lot of people have never had that opportunity to travel to these places, to go to the jungles. That's a dream for many people. And so it's great, I think, to hear your account and to realize how these things have been therapeutic in your life. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Good job. So when you said your life was in shambles last year, and you had gone into ceremony and utilized the plant medicines, ayahuasca and peyote, I'm curious about how it got put back together through this use of plant medicines. And I'm wondering, do you believe that there is a sense of synchronicity through the interconnectedness of all interactions that you can be in or out of alignment with? And do you realign by observing the subtle details of your place in the universe through these plants?
Yes, that's a very good question. Absolutely, I would say. It goes back to that old thing, the law of attraction. And what you put out is what you're going to draw to you. Sometimes if you're spiraling in a negative loop, it's hard to get out of that. And when you're spiraling in a negative loop, it's going to draw more negative things to you. But when you are existing in a heightened state, or a peaceful state, a positive state, you're going to draw more positive experiences to you. And this is possible through meditation or prayer, however one centers themselves and draws the good things to them. It can also be a catalyst to get out of those kind of ruts. However, I find that the use of these medicines is all the more potent to achieve this, because sometimes it's hard to see beyond our own veils. And what they do is they give you a glimpse of the world behind the veil. So you do see yourself in perspective, in relation to the greater scheme of things, to the workings of the universe. You realize your importance in that, and also how small you are in that, but yet very important in that. And when you get a glimpse of that, it does realign you with that. And it's easier to stay in that vibration once you're there. So, absolutely, I think it can be a really powerful catalyst for overcoming those kind of negative loops, negative karmic cycles, by just glimpsing the other realm.
Mm-hmm.
The other one.
Something about synchronicity that is very present in these plant medicines. And I notice in my life when I'm observing synchronicities happen, that I feel like I'm on the right path. And there are ways to show me that things are lining up. And whether it be I look at the clock and it's the same time every time I look at it, or I run into a friend and it's just very auspicious that they should be here because they have the right information for me at the right time, and had it not been for that moment, my life would be very different. So there's all these beautiful, one would call coincidences, but really I believe that you can almost synchronicity hop and get in line with some sort of equilibrium or state of being and frequency that is attuned to your frequency. So the other question I wanted to ask you was, in observing your darker sides, you were mentioning how, all this past vasanas or karmic energies come up and you're able to view them. I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate on that a little bit. The metaphor that I would use is, if you have a ghost in your house, if you run from it and are scared of it, this poltergeist will kind of keep haunting you. But if you stand up and you say, I see you, I know that you're here, show yourself, I think that's how the story goes, that the ghost leaves. They just want to be noticed. So when you notice that there's a ghost within you and you face it and you look at it, then it's able to be purged out or to be exorcised.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's true. It's like with any sickness, for instance, it's better than to run from it. For instance, if you have a pain in your body, sometimes just by focusing on it and letting your attention rest there, you can dissolve it. Just through meditation, through bringing, when you focus on something, you bring the light there. You bring the prana there. You bring that healing energy there. So rather than having an aversion to it, facing those obstacles head on can sometimes bring the light to them. So I think that's what how the medicines worked with that, is that it's purposefully showed me these really hard things to see. And also many people have remembrances of things they've blocked out, old traumas or wounds, stuff with their family, or dark stuff like molestation and stuff like this, where they maybe have blocked it out. And to witness it in these realms, the ayahuasca brings these old dormant memories to the surface, and to witness it, there's a therapeutic value in that. Once you see it, it doesn't have such power over you anymore. It's not this beast in the shadows. It's something that you can face yourself, and you can bring the light there. So rather than running from the darkness, you're bringing the light to the darkness to illuminate it, and that's kind of how it works. And as far as synchronicities go, I completely agree that when you're aligned with your highest dharma, with your purpose, and you're cruising with the way of the universe, the synchronicities abound. They're everywhere, and I've definitely noticed that with things like this.